Bosch sent me out their new 18-volt Sabre Saw to review, and as someone who hasn't really looked at either Sabre Saws or non-trade grade tools, I was left with two questions. Number one, should every homeowner / DIYer have a Sabre Saw? And number two, is this saw actually any good?
The Wood Night is sponsored by I Would Like.
Sabre saws are one of those tools that if you've never used one or don't have one, it's a little hard to describe their value. They're a less accurate, less controllable jigsaw, but they can have more capacity in blade length, as well as more versatility with the variety of blades available. While the primary use is probably demolition with a host of blades that can cut wood with embedded nails, it can be useful for rough cutting thick materials to size. Say a large post or slab that you need cut to make it more manageable to take it to a tool like a jointer or a miter saw. They're also versatile in the range of blades you can get. For example, this pruning blade from Diablo makes pretty short work of branches and even small trees. As I said, cutting through nail embedded wood is a common use for this type of tool, and this particular tool is really no exception. It can even handle metal tubing okay. Along with a cordless drill, a circular saw and a miter saw, a Sabre Saw like this makes a pretty compelling homeowner's kit if you're renovating. But is this saw any good? Well, first up, what is this saw? This is the Bosch PSA 18Li, which is part of the Bosch Green range, which is the DIY range. It's part of the DIY 18-volt range, which neither the battery or the tool are compatible with any of the Bosch Blue tools and batteries. So they should be considered separate companies. It has a 22mm stroke length, it has a 2800 stroke per minute stroke rate, and it's variable speed via a kind of crappy trigger, a fairly standard toolless blade change mechanism, and a standard pivoting shoe. This particular tool is currently available as a skin only, not in a kit, for $129 and only at Mitre 10. There are battery and charger kits, which Bosch also sent along. The plastic here feels pretty chintzy compared to trade grade tools like Bosch Blue, DeWalt, Milwaukee, but feels pretty on par with offerings from Ryobi, Ozito, MacTech, and so on. The overmolding again isn't quite up to the same standards as Bosch Blue. It's a bit harder and, I don't know, maybe a little bit tacky to touch, but it isn't awful. It's not the worst I've felt. However, there are some surprising features that are just missing or poor. The blade clamp is very fiddly and not great. Bosch Blue uses a screw type mechanism, and Ryobi and I think Ozito and DeWalt use a lever to lock and unlock. This one is awkward at best. The clamp / reciprocating arm has a fair bit of wobble to it. I don't know if this is more than other models. It seemed a little worse than the ones I tried in shops. The pivoting shoe is super stiff, and that's comparing it to all of the competition, even Bosch Blue. Makes it very difficult to adjust while you're sawing, so you sort of have to do it ahead of time rather than leaning like that. Worse than that is the shoe cannot be adjusted in and out at all. You use this feature to extend the life of blades. If you're cutting similar sort of material, you're only going to be hitting the same section all of the time. So these teeth will dull out, but the rest are fine. You might assume that this end of the market doesn't have that feature, but both the $30 cheaper Ryobi 18-volt saw has this, and even the $76 cheaper Ozito 18-volt does. It's a kind of must-have feature. Sabre saws are a bit odd. They're often not the best tool for the job, but they can do so many different jobs. For example, cutting 60mm or smaller steel tubing, well, my portaband, which is 18-volt as well, blows this Sabre saw away. But any larger than that, and the portaband can't even attempt to cut it just because of the guide depth. The large cutting capacity makes things like cutting PVC a breeze, and that doesn't sound super useful, but if you're in a wood shop like mine, all my piping is PVC, and it's much easier than a miter saw or band saw to cut it. And the pruning blade really worked fantastic. Of all the testing I did, this was by far the standout, because it was functionally better than many of the cheaper end electric pruners on the market. So stuff that costs the same as this don't typically cut quite as well. However, this is a two-handed model. You'd need to go for Bosch Blue or another brand to get the one-handed side. So it's not really a great pruning saw. It's too fatiguing to do an entire garden with one hit. Despite the lacking features, this saw functions fine, and that's probably the best way I can sum it up. The saw is fine, it's not bad, it's not good, it's just fine. With that said, I'm less confident about the battery system. Currently, Bosch Green batteries max capacity is 2.5 amp hour, though I haven't seen any larger than 2.0, like this one, available for purchase. The charger they sent out to me, this fella here, is the AL2215CV, which has a quick 1.5 hour charge for these 2 amp hour batteries. The Bosch Blue equivalent of this charger will do the same in 65 minutes, and it's only $10 more, but for Bosch Blue batteries. The batteries themselves seem a little bit poor value too, particularly when pitted against Bosch Blue. The 3 amp hour Bosch Blue battery is $89, while the Green 1.5 amp hour is $69. Though to their credit, the Green batteries are cheaper than Makita and equal with Ryobi. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that if you're already in the Bosch Green system, this tool is fine. It will fit in, it's compatible, and it is okay. If you're not in the Green system, it's a much harder sell. The Bosch Blue is a little bit more expensive. You'd be looking at about $50 more total for the tool, charger, and a higher capacity battery, but it has a much wider range of tools so you can grow with it. It's going to be higher quality because it's trade grade, it's built tougher, better materials used in it, and it has a much longer warranty. Or if you're wanting to spend less and making your decisions entirely on the Sabre Saw, a Zetto and Ryobi seem worth a look. On paper, they have more features and they're both cheaper. And that's not even mentioning the much larger 18 volt range that both a Zetto and Ryobi have. I think this tool should be cheaper, or perhaps somewhat compatible with Bosch Blue. The latter would solve the battery capacity issue. 2 amp hour is pretty old tech compared to what every other brand is doing these days. And it would also solve the charger issue, as well as the smaller than the competition's range of tools issue. All of this is a bit of a shame because I really like Bosch Blue corded and cordless tools, both those that I've bought and those that I've reviewed in the past. Even the Bosch blades I've used, particularly for the jigsaw, are pretty fantastic. Thanks for watching.